Hello and welcome to Geek and Biscuits. We're your hosts Dan and Grant. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good to be back and ready for one of just ready for this one, mate. 'Cause it's one of my all-time favourites. What we're talking about tonight is Masters of the Universe. 1987. I don't care what people say. 1987 classic, because to me it really is. It's one of all-time favourite films. But before we get cracked on, like always, if you want to give us a like, a share, and please subscribe, so we can keep doing what we're doing. Let us know what you think, and if you've got any requests, send them our way. Put them in the comments, or find us on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll work you into the schedule. So, mate, Master of the Universe, what's your earliest memories of this awesome movie?
It was one of my first ever cinema experiences, actually. So I'd have been around 4 or 5 when the film was released. So I don't know whether we'd have had it actually the end of that year or beginning of the next. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. I can just remember sat in the cinema with my dad, and the titles with kind of the scores, kind of Superman Star Wars-esque.
Yeah.
But you get the kind of rainbow flash lights behind the white credit text. Mm-hmm. And I just remember that, and the music flaring up, and the first shot of Eternia, where it's like a bit of a wastelandish, with bits of grass, and then the Castle Grayskull in the middle. And I don't know what it is. It just, that memory just always sticks in my head. I just remember that me and my dad were sat there, and and I was a huge fan of the cartoon, and just couldn't wait. And so that was my experience. And I also quite remember getting it on VHS as well.
Yes.
And always telling people when I watched it at my grandma's or with my cousins or something, I was like, wait, there's something happens at the end.
Yeah.
First end post credits.
Yeah.
Scene maybe.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Oh, mate, first film that I was taken to see the cinema by my father. Dropped my dad in there again. He's got great taste. But yeah, he told me that I cried during it, and I thought, oh, maybe it was because I would have been 3. Yeah. When it came out. Again, like you said, unless it was sort of delayed over a year or whatever, to 3 going on 4. And he said that I cried, and I thought, maybe it's because of like the Karg makeup or something scary to little kids. But he said it was when He-Man was getting whipped that I thought it was holding on to me. I thought it was going to die. So I seemed really distraught. So it was and there my protectiveness for buff men in tiny shorts started.
It was born, was it?
That's where it was born, mate.
It's quite brutal for
it is,
man. Yeah.
But again, that's for me. That was hunted it down on VHS. I actually goaded my little sister Jo into buying it for me. She'd saved up some pocket money. I think I was about 8 or something like that. She saved up some pocket money. We used to go to Woolworths every weekend and look at the video section. And we used to rent Masters of the Universe from the Movie Time, which was our local video shop.
Yeah.
She ended up with, I think it was about £6 or £7 it was.
Wow.
You were on offer. I'd been in town and I came back and went, oh, you know what? It's a really good film. I think you really want to buy it for me. She went out and bought it.
That's amazing.
God bless her. And and I just, it's one of those films. It's proper stuck with me. But I was a big fan of the TV series, the animated series. Absolutely, I had the He-Man pajamas, bed sheets, a tracksuit,
I
the
remember the bed
toys.
sheets because every time I used to watch Father Ted, I was always like, "He's got my bed sheets."
Do go bed sheets, yeah. But I had the figures, I had Castle Grayskull, and everything.
That's my favourite.
Battlecat, yeah. So it's just always been. It's been a big part of growing up.
I think it was a massive part of a lot of, especially guys' childhood in the 80s.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, it's up there with Transformers and sort of Thundercats and that sort of thing. It's proper nostalgia fuel as well. You can't help. For me personally, I can't help watch it with a massive grin on my face, and that's where it comes to. Like you said, the opening. You get the opening narration of at the center of the universe, on the border between light and the dark, stands Castle Grayskull, and it's a guy who's not got any other credits.
No.
Yeah, and he just picked some random guy out with a really cool voice and went, "You do that, and that's all you'll ever need to do." But we'll just break down the plot really quickly before we get into it. Yeah. So it's kind of almost like you're expected to know, the whole sort of Prince Adam, He-Man sort of thing. So it's almost like it's the last days of a war raging in Eternia. Skeletor's got the upper hand with a awesome device called the Cosmic Key. Yeah. He stole his way into Castle Grayskull finally, and he's ready to take over He-Man, Man-at-Arms Teela, and the maker of the key, Gwildor. God bless Billy Bye. They try and rescue the sorceress. It goes a little bit awry, and they end up on Earth, sort of enlisting the help of a very young Courtney Cox and Robert Duncan McNeil, and James Tolkan.
What a guy!
To sort of get the key to get home and rescue the sorceress and save the day, which is basically the plot in a nutshell. Also, that Skeletor is wanting he wants the power.
Yeah,
he wants to be master of the universe. He's taking the sorceress's power, and he's going to become sort of the ultimate sort of power in the universe, isn't he? That's his way out of this. So let's go into cast and crew. I mean, there's a really good cast to this. Let's start with He-Man. Let's start with Dolph. Dolph Lundgren. He's coming off of Rocky IV.
Yeah, it was 2 years prior, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Rocky IV. Yeah.
I think before that he'd only done View to a Kill.
Yeah.
So it's a big role for Dolph, and I think considering that he has limited dialogue and he doesn't have a great deal to do in Rocky IV, relatively just stand there looking massive. I think he gets a fair old crack. Would you say?
Yeah, I would. I think this film would surprise people if they didn't kind of grow up with it, because I think that he's almost a secondary character and he's a titled film, because I think the film is told through Skeletor because of the fantastic acting and the surprisingly involved Frank. Is it Langella or Langella?
Langella, yeah.
Because obviously he was very happy about pleasing his son.
Yes.
So participating in the film, but I was surprised how much of a front seat he took in production by rewriting his lines, working with the director and stuff. Yeah.
And I think that stands out to pick up that point about Skeletor's dialogue. Gary Goddard said, the director Gary Goddard said, it was approached from the point of view that they were making a New Gods movie, DC's New Gods, like Darkseid and everything. This is their version of that. So they amplify the mythos and the amplifier, the look of it, everything's grand. And I mean, some of the set design just in the Castle Grayskull throne room is phenomenal. It's beautiful. But Langella's performance, it's something else. It's completely on another level, and he brings all that gravitas and sort of Shakespearean authority into a role which, anyone else could have probably just passed it off. I'm going to be in prosthetics for the entire time. I'll just ham it up. I don't feel like he hams it up. I feel like he gives it his all.
I thought he was quite, not scary, but I always thought I felt like if you're never paying attention to the film as a kid, he would shout, and you'd feel like you'd have to sit up and pay attention.
Yeah,
sit up and no slouching. I think he gives it. I think he's brilliant. He's. I just think that it's easy to say I'm going to take this role and do it for my kid and make him happy and stuff. But I think he went far above and beyond that. I actually think he probably relished the troubled production. And Gary Goddard's was his first film because I know he had a lot of history in comics, and didn't he do something with the Conan TV show and stuff? But it's almost like he took a bit of a father figure role on maybe in production. It feels like when you read about what's happened and stuff, and for somebody that his own resume, his maybe status in acting, he could have easily just been like, I'll be my trailer.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And he didn't, and I just find it incredible.
He's a proper legend, and I think even now to say that it's his all, he said it's his favourite role that he's played, even now, and he's had a massive varied career. He's had a very successful career on stage and screen, but it says something, it resonates something that someone of his calibre is saying that massive universe and Skeletor is his favourite role. That's just, what more can you say? It's great.
From the perspective of, look at when you see some of these parts maybe that go to other people, and they either get fed up with it because of fame through the numerous sequels, or they just think, I can do this until I can really do my hobby and thespian work and stuff. And actually the guy embraced it, and it's just brilliant to see.
Yeah, good, so good. So then we've got Billy Barty as Gwildor. And my only other memory from Billy Barty on screen is Legend.
Yes.
Ridley Scott's Legend.
He was 73 when he made this.
Was he 73?
73.
That's insane.
Blew my mind, mate. Blew my mind.
It's blowing my mind right now, mate. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe it. It's my favourite piece of trivia, and this film has got a lot of trivia. So we've got John Cypher as Man at Arms. I don't know what it was. When I was a kid, I was always really liked him. I don't know if he just got a likeable, proper all-American kind of nice guy face, like a granddad Tom Selleck.
Yes, well, I think what was they humanised his character so well. They grounded his character, and he sort of has these sort of little flurries of he stands up to Skeletor. He's not, when they enter the throne room, he's like, you dare threaten her life, and he stands on his own. He doesn't, he'd be there whether He-Man and he had backup or not, But then, when he's on Earth, he's talking about eating all the time. It's like, a soldier always learns to follow his nose, and is it 50 days without rations, and all that stuff. Even when him and Teela see that couple kissing in the car, and she's talking about obviously Gwildor being in the bushes, but his first thought is to go, "Oh, me and your mum were doing that before you were born." Doesn't. But he's great. He's so fatherly in it. He's it's I don't know. It's just it gels really well. His relationship as well. Chelsea Fields, Mrs. Scott Bakula, as Teela, who again isn't resigned to sort of a third party sort of female character. She's up front and center and takes on the boys at their own game. She's and just as sort of just as good as with a firearm, even better with a sort of laser gun than
Yeah.
than their counterparts. There's that nice little sequence in the music store.
Yes, there's.
Yeah, Woman at Arms, which is a
Yeah.
nice little touch. Yeah, nice little cheeky nod. And then we got James Tolkien as is it Ludwig?
Yeah.
Lubick. Oh, really? Just...
Yeah, I always get kind of confused with that. But it is Lubick.
Lubick,
Sure
Lubick, yeah. And
we'll
again,
go with Lubick.
Yeah, he's saw him, Back to the Future and Top Gun, and then to sort of round everything off, Meg Foster is Evil Lynn. I actually had the privilege of meeting Meg Foster at London Comic Con a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And she was due to be taken around for a photo shoot. And I went to just go and get her autograph before this photo shoot, and she held them off, taking her out, and we ended up having a 15-20 minute chat about Masters of the Universe. Bless her, she's proper. She's lovely. She's so lovely. And those eyes are still as piercing as ever.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I saw nobody please judge me for this, but watched a little bit of Jeepers Creepers 3.
Yes.
Wanted to just see what the fuck they'd do with it. And she's in it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't recognise people straight off the bat. So I saw this elderly lady in the garden and looking at the scarecrow, and then as she looked up in her eyes, I was straight away like, bang, I know that is. Like, they just look like they've been taken from a younger self and plonked them there.
Insane,
wow.
Yeah. They're so closely in person as well. They're just full on, And she was wonderful. And then we've got our teens. So we've got I should mention Christina Pickles as Sorceress, which ties into Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
As Julie, because they played mother and daughter in Friends.
Yes, they did.
To see them on screen together. And then Robert Duncan McNeil, Tom Paris from Star Trek Voyager, as Kevin, Julie's boyfriend. So it's a nice little cast. A lot of people starting out in the first major film roles, mixed in with a lot of I think it works that you've got a lot of younger stars. Even Dolph Lundgren, who was just starting out in his career, but led up by Frank Langella, who, like you said, is essentially the main role.
Absolutely, yeah.
The film opens with him, and it ends, but it's bookended with him, and it's more about his journey. He-Man's not Prince Adam at any point in this film.
No,
he's always He-Man. So it's Skeletor's arc, and his drive that we follow to erase He-Man's face from existence, something like to drive your cursed face from my memory, and in this absolute wonderful dialogue. And it's a shame because if we think about critically, it lost money.
It was it absolutely hemorrhaged money, didn't it? I don't just mean like through like ticket sales and stuff. Just if I'm right, Canon wanted to make Spider-Man movie, and they ended up trying to do Masters of the Universe and another film, and it escapes my memory at the moment. And then they thought both would be a commercial success to give them more money to make Spider-Man. Yeah. Well, that fucked it.
They finished. It was Master of the Universe, Life Force, and Superman 4.
That's right, Superman.
Which killed off Canon. Which is, I mean, Canon are back. They're doing a lot of low budget films at the minute. Some pretty good ones actually. But
Mattel had to step in, didn't they, to cover off of the budget, I believe.
Well, we look at the ending as it originally planned. They, for those of you who've seen it, and I do urge you to go out and see it, even if it's just to remind yourself about it. But we have the sort of to the climax. Skeletor has become this sort of all-powerful being, being sort of decked out in gold.
Mate, he turns himself into Trump Tower. It's that golden.
Yeah. But He-Man was
Goldmember would have been jealous.
He would be, yeah. I love gold. But He-Man, he goes for the sword of power. Does the line that we've all been waiting for right in the last couple of minutes. Starts out of the power, sort of regains his composure and his strength. And they have this awesome face-off, this little bit of dialogue. And it's like, I always told you it's between us. And he goes, and that's what he says, I ache to smash you from existence, to drive you cursed face from my memory. Enough talk. It's like, let this be our final battle. And then they cut.
Yeah.
Cannon stepped in and said, we're really sorry, you've got no money left. You can't film the ending. And Gary Goddard's been on he's been a lot of interviews saying this, where he's sort of dismayed that he can't finish his film. There's no way to finish his film. So they get the least amount of people possible involved, sneak back on set under cover of darkness, light it with I think it's one of those revolving gel light machines, and keep it in relative darkness. And you know what? It works. Because to me, all this flashiness going off and all the big bangs and all the money that's spent on it, because it's a good looking film, there's all the effects are really nice, and it holds up effects wise, is that because they essentially couldn't afford the electric bill, the lights, it focuses just on He-Man and Skeletor. It almost like,
it makes it otherworldly to me, like their energies are both.
Yeah, it is just about them. Yeah, nothing else matters. It's like nothing else exists within the universe apart from them, and to me, it completely works.
Yeah, I think it's such a creative decision, and such a creative way around. Basically the biggest fuck you that they could have been given. And I believe I watched an interview where Gary Goddard said that when they've got that news and they had to kind of stop filming, they clash, and then obviously they stop it where they thought they were just going to get to some more money and film the ending.
Yeah.
But he said in his mind, to him, it was like their combined power just sucked light and energy out of everywhere.
Yeah.
So it made it more intimate. And so kind of like you, I think that comes through the film. So I don't think you can tell where they had to cut light and stick an ending in, and where they'd sneak back on set. I think you can actually, your mind notices mistakes, don't they, when you're watching something. If you're told there's an error there, or you can clearly see a stand-in or a stunt, but you always see it. But my brain never skips to that. It always just thinks it's a natural kind of stylistic choice.
Yeah,
it just does fit. So I think
it's part of it. It's just, it makes it more grand, and I think where they've genuinely gone out to make a film more than its origins. They've gone to expand, but also bring a look to it. They've definitely gone a way of sort of saying, we've established the cartoon, but the cartoon can't translate, or possibly won't translate. People running around. Yes, Dolph's running around in a Speedo for most of it, but people running around in furry pants with characters called Fisto and Ram Man,
they belong in a different film.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So the choices have to be made, and I mean, Mattel was fine with them. Mattel let it get their final say on a lot of it. But I think the problem is, sort of going back to sort of critically and audience participation, is Master of the Universe. I think it began in 83, the cartoon series, 82, 83.
It ran for like 2 years as well, didn't it?
Yeah, so it was almost a little bit too late.
Massively too late.
Yeah, so it missed its window. However, not for me. And not for your good self.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think the thing that I have watching it recently is just disappointed the fact that I feel if it was maybe different studios did it, like I mean the name Canon is like, you just remember it with such just good emotions. It's canon, the logo, everything. It takes you back. But I think if it was financed by a different studio, that were in a more stable situation, I'd have loved to see what Gary Goddard could have done.
Yeah,
been given everything, because I think a lot of choices, like I can understand why some people have a little bit turned off by it, because it does expect you to know quite a lot going straight in there, which knowing it, I appreciate it because it just kicks straight off, and that's great for me. But I can understand that, and there's also the trope that gets people's back up sometimes. There's, let's have this great world and we'll go to Earth, fish out of water, kind of stuff. That to me was taken out of the director's hands and writer's hands and everything anyway. But I can understand those complaints. But I do think that, like you said a minute ago, I think the film we appreciate what we've got, but we're kind of going to make it. The key word is, when I watched the cartoon, I always thought of He-Man. When I watch this film, I think Masters of the Universe. It's broadened, and a character like He-Man, like I love the Skeletor page on Facebook. He-Man's a dick. He's lovely when you're a kid, but you just want to punch him in the face running about in his pants. So he needed those characters around him. Like you said, Man at Arms and everyone, and like even the kids, the Courtney Cox, and her boyfriend, and the cop. They're actually great. They could be irritating, but they're great. They add so much to it. And I think that it's very clever to take the pressure off Dolph Lundgren and his accent and stuff, because I know he really struggled and he was so close to being dubbed over. Physically, and and he was imposing and he looked the part. And I think by the end he's very passable. Absolutely, definitely. But I think that it's just such a shame he didn't have a few more credits, because I think a few years later I forgot what film he made, and I can remember watching it recently and thinking, it must have been like 5-6 years after, it was like 2. I was thinking, my God, if he'd have had it then, what could he have done? Maybe he would have just stepped up and like got on par with like Langella, and maybe have had even a greater dialogue. But I do think that it's a little gem of a movie. I appreciate it, and I do think I think it's maybe because people look at it and it's got a very Star Wars vibe to it. It definitely has. It's almost like a TV version of Star Wars in comparison. And it suffers because Star Wars is so good and the effects are incredible. That everything back then probably was compared to Star Wars, and people just thought, I'd rather watch Star Wars. But it is good. I always remember the like hoverboard little things that they come on. I remember him coming to Earth.
Which again, you've got Richard Edlund doing the miniature work.
Yeah,
and it's a big thing. It's not someone you just sort of sniff at. And it's still great miniature work. I think the only effects that really look dated is the like electric stuff, but it's still really like animated well. It's just the fact that it stands out now because it was done, but actually the animation of it is fantastic still. I think a lot of it holds up. Some of the matte paints are fabulous. Oh yeah, I appreciate some of how things were shot in it as well, because there's a little bit. It's when they're on the roof, when they're waiting for He-Man, and He-Man's gone off and he's on the hoverboard and everything, and they're all talking on the roof about He-Man coming back and how much time they've got left and everything, and the music's just like it's just a little note just playing, and behind them on the roof is Skeletor's transport, very slowly just rising up, and it's just the whole sort of cocksureness of Skeletor that he only sort of speaks when someone says something. I think it's Gwildo says something, and he replies to him, and that's how he announces himself. He doesn't make a grand gesture about announcing himself. He sort of just waits for that perfect moment. But he's there are elements that I think the pink Cadillac for it's I'm not quite sure who whether it's aimed at directly. Obviously it's aimed at kids, but what kind of kids they're aiming that at, because it kind of doesn't. You take away so much and you allow so much, but even now I think I would struggle a little bit with the super fast pink Cadillac. you know.
Yeah.
But you let it, stuff like that. You let it slide because it's, Gwildor's gone off and they need to get from, A to B as quick as they can. They haven't got a vehicle themselves and stuff like that. But there's sort of a nice myriad of characters. It's Skeletor's mercenaries, Karg and Beastman and Sarad and Blade. It's new character apart from Beastman, new characters. Blade was the I think Anthony DeLongis, I think.
Yeah, it was the stunt coordinator, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. So it's nice to see that you got a decent role out of it, and and Mattel obviously went out of the way to produce these toys, to coincide with everything as well. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of fun to be out. It's the one film, and I mean, and people might think I'm incredibly sad about this.
We'll be the judge of that, people. Yeah. Let us know in the comments.
It's the one film I can sit from start to finish and mouth along to every single word of dialogue.
That's brilliant.
Honestly, I sit there. I was doing it the other night, and we showed it Ellie, and Ellie kept looking over, and there's me mouthing along, especially Skeletor's dialogue. It's just like giggling away. But yeah, it just starts. It's automatic. I don't know I'm doing it sometimes. Mouth just starts moving. Yeah, but I think it's made that kind of impact in me. It's ingrained on my soul now that how much I love this film.
Well, I think I said it back in our Scrooged review, that sometimes you get a film like that where you don't know, and it's like almost like you're listening to your own voice through the characters' mouths because you just know it so well.
Yeah.
So,
highlights. What is your? What do you say your standout moment or character? What's?
Well, I mean, character is Skeletor.
Yeah.
I don't think we can praise Frank Langella highly enough behind the scenes and on camera. But I don't know whether a particular standout. I mean, for me, I always, as a kid, I know it sounds stupid and kind of especially loving the 80s, the Cosmic Key.
Oh.
The noise it made, the music it played and stuff. Every time that was on screen, so epic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The music was absolutely incredible.
How much did you want one?
Oh, if I had one, mate, I would have played with nothing else.
Yeah. So I want one now. I think if someone was selling replicas that projected lights, so I want one now, mate. So.
It's absolutely brilliant. But I think, I always thought you going back to saying that you were like cried and stuff with your dad, bless you.
Still do.
I always thought, the bit where Skeletor does arrive on Earth, like you said, his transport coming up and stuff, and when they take them back to Eternia, it's just that whole part. I actually felt as a kid that how's He-Man gonna win?
Yeah.
I never felt that in a lot of stuff before. You never really feel that your heroes, as a kid are gonna struggle. But I actually thought, shit, probably not shit when I was I was like, Jesus, and I don't know. It's like the threat just keeps escalating.
Well, by all means, purposely, they shouldn't have won. The good guys shouldn't have won in that because they were overly outnumbered, and it's I would quite happily seen a version where they didn't. Along with Skeletor.
Yeah, definitely. When he's He-Man's in the pool of water below, or wherever it is, Sorceress is a pile of bones, and he's putting his eyes, and he's like, "Come here, you bold bastard," to Lyric.
Oh, bless you.
But what about you? What's highlight for you?
Yeah, again, Skeletor. I think every single line of dialogue that drops out of Langella's mouth is pure gold. I think
he's got a line I really like, by the way. Is it where He-Man says, "This is between you and me," or something, and some people don't need to die, and it's just like, "Well said, He-Man." How noble. It's just like in that. It's like, again, like you're saying, it almost shows his like very Shakespearean part of Langella. but also that Skeletor might want to be master of the universe. But he is like, you're right. How often do you hear the villain say, "You're right"? It's almost like he does feel a bit more rounded. He's not just this. He is shouty, and he is this. But
the next breath, it's like, what should we do about them, sir? Let them rot.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think it's all this stuff. It's like he says, "I'll never kneel to you." He-Man's like, "I'll never kneel to you," and he goes, "Yes, you will. Yes, you will, or I'll reap unforgettable harm upon you." And it's just these lines that you just think, I'm not gonna fucking mess with that dude. Yeah, not only has he got a skull face, and I think that works. I think there's so many ways that you think practically there's not many ways, but practically they could have done that Skeletor.
No.
Yeah, without resorting to a sort of flopping jawed puppet every time it spoke. So to do this sort of almost amalgamation of flesh and bone, sort of almost this sort of bone type creature, works. It's the little fangs that he's got, and his pointed lip and everything. But yeah, the look of it again, all these little things, I think are just my highlights. I watched it again. It's the first time I watched it in a couple of years. And noticing the set design and the giant doors on Castle Grayskull got the big dragon on it, and there's runes everywhere and stuff like that, and they really make a big deal out of that set piece. But yeah, I think coming down to the confrontation between Skeletor and He-Man is a big highlight at the end. Just the people sort of laughed off about his big gold costume and everything, but it's what's said that's important and how it's presented. That's what
But again, I don't think it looks stupid though. I know we've joked and called it Trump Tower and gold members like dildo, but but actually I think it is probably what at the time the Emperor of the Universe would probably dress like. Well, it's that in history, all these emperors and kings and stuff dress like proper knobs.
Well, it's Grayskull itself, isn't it? It's the map painted of Grayskull. It's the same as the and I think that says something about that's the seat of power for the universe and everything. But I love it. But what about sort of issues? Is there anything that doesn't work for you? Is there anything that you think could have been done differently?
I think showing it to modern audiences now, I think there'd probably be a few things like with the story and stuff like that. But I don't think it's anything. I find it really hard to criticise it because I think it is budgetary, and I think the fact the film even got finished is an incredible achievement and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do think that maybe in like an alternate universe we do get a little bit more of a intro to some of the characters and stuff like that. But I think obviously I wouldn't like him replaced, but I'd have just loved Dolph to have been a couple of years older or had more experience, because I think he'd have really, I think he'd have hit that out of the park.
Yeah, again, it's hard to pull something apart that you love dearly, and something that was made at a time with a relatively small. Well, I say small budget for now, probably wasn't back then, but it's when you've got a toy company telling you that you're going to do things a certain way, you've got Golden and Globus who are insane telling you to do things a certain way.
Well, you've got Mattel. I'm sure they made the soldiers because they told Mattel weren't happy with He-Man killing or hurting anyone. Then they changed their mind very quickly when they realised that that's not a great idea. So then it's like, well, you just like the film. It's not an animation. You can't just like scrap or redraw or animate things quickly. You've built things.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I always took them as that because people sort of said, "Oh, it's just stormtroopers from Star Wars and stuff." But I always took them. They've got an emblem on the chest.
Yeah.
It's almost like a crest around a skull. I didn't take them to be Skeletor's troops. Skeletor in the cartoon never had an army. They just had buffoons running around, basically complete idiots running around everything. I took it as, if you've ever seen She-Ra and Hordak's guys who got like they look like robots, these big hulky guys. I always took it as like mine going off on one that he used the key to get, go to get Hordak's army, kill Hordak or whatever, and bring his army back over and use them, that army to storm Grayskull and everything.
Yeah.
Because it never feels like, I don't know, it just never felt like a Skeletor emblem on the chest. I don't know whether that's what they were going for or whether it was just, done that way, part of design or whatever.
Yeah.
So I let it slide, and I don't know, there's something, Stormtroopers look great in white. These guys look brilliant in black.
Yeah.
They're different enough for me. Never to have thought growing up that they're just a carbon copy of Stormtroopers.
No. No.
But I don't know. It's I can't find fault with it.
No, I think one of my favourite pieces of nostalgia around the film is when me and you were studying film and media and stuff, and we had a lecturer called Michelle, and she was affectionately known as Gwildaughter, me and you. So if you're listening, Michelle, fuck you.
That's true, because I've said this to you before. I hope Gemma's listening. My big sister, she's ginger like I am. She's about 4'2", and my dad's always referred to her as Gwildor.
Amazing.
Still does now. But I would urge people to go out and see it and make your minds up. And people still might think, they will have its the people who
it is an acquired taste, I think.
Yes,
I do think so. I think it is more mine. I think as many people, I don't think you'll get middle ground. I think people will either be like, "What the fuck is this?" and I think you'll equally get people go, "Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it."
Well, that first group of people are a bunch of cunts.
Yeah, well,
right.
It happens.
Right. Well, before we round everything up, mate. How are you rating Masters of the Universe?
Oh, it's really difficult. I don't think I can give it a golden biscuit, I'm afraid. I think there are a few issues with the film. I think what people need to realise is that is like a gold standard, obviously. It's a gold biscuit. I think I'd give this film probably 3.5 to 4 biscuits. I think and it's quite funny because I think that I don't want to go that low, but then I can see you're fuming. No, I think it depends, because I think you look at ratings sometimes, and if I pick up a film magazine, don't know about you, and I see a film that's got 3 stars, and I look at it and I go, what? But then when you look at it afterwards, and I can remember this reviewer having to defend himself on Twitter recently, going, 3 stars says good. I've given it 3.5. It means it's almost very good. Like, why is everyone saying I've given it a shit review? I think that, I think I'll say 3.5, just because I think that it has got a few issues, I believe, and I think I don't know, it's so close to being very good, and I don't want to, because I'm looking back at films I've rated, that's why, and I'm trying to keep it in line, and I think for a film that's had so many issues and is so such an acquired taste, I think it's brilliant, and I think it is a nostalgia film for people, and I think equally there's some things that are dated, but equally there's some things that are really good. There's things that don't age. I think the bad guys, some of the costumes, some of the effects are fantastic, and I'd actually pay to watch that than some of the shite that we've had since 2000s. I really would. I think you can probably put this as a fluid review for me, because I think on days when I don't watch it, I'll think, maybe 3.5. But I think days when I watch it, I'll think 4 easily. So I think it's back and forth, a fluid. But I can't quite give it the golden thing, just because there's a few. I think it detracts from if I give like Dolph Lundgren's performance a 5 stars, and then I'm giving Evil Dead 5. It feels not quite right. But I think like it is. I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they watch this. Based off a children's cartoon, it is aiming for the 80s version of Star Wars, in my opinion. And in some ways, we get something that's almost like a nice little alternative kind of thing. But I think to knock my review up, to round it off, I think if we'd have maybe had a bit more on Eternia, then I'd have loved it. I'd have. So again, a lot of it is totally out of the control of people's.
It beats the idea for the sequel that which a lot of people, may or may not have became Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. They already greenlit it and started building sets and costumes, but it was apparently part of it was Dolph wasn't coming back because of budget reasons. They hired a professional surfer. To take over the role, and he was going to be back on Earth disguised as a quarterback. So I'm so glad that it didn't get made.
Oh man, we're going to hire a surfer, but you're going to be a quarterback. We find a surfer, and I can just imagine the boardroom. We find a surfer. Oh, right, okay then. So what he's going to be disguised as? You got it, quarterback. Oh.
To me, they should have just sort of re-edited Sam Jones's bits from Flash Gordon, because Flash is a quarterback in Flash Gordon, and just repurpose that footage for Masters 2.
I do. I know we keep hearing of Development L, but I do genuinely think we will see another film. I really do. I do. I think we will.
This is a difficult one, because I would out and out just go ahead and rate it a golden biscuit. Because of what it means to me. But this is where when I do a rating, I do try to. Sorry to interrupt. I try and do, like, when someone goes, "What's your favourite films?" I'll say, for instance, like Ghostbusters, and I think Ghostbusters is an awesome film anyway. I think just how it's made, everything. But some people might go, "Ugh." Or I said to you when we did our Vanilla Sky review, I really enjoy Vanilla Sky. I think it's well made, it's got this, but I totally understand why some people go, I don't get how you can enjoy it so much. If I was doing a list of top 10 best ever films, then I might be looking at technical, do you know what I mean, like Chariots of Fire, Shawshank Redemption. But that's not what I enjoy as much. I enjoy a mixture of everything. So yes, mate, I do get your predicament that you're in. Because if I was looking at it sort of as a critique, I would possibly score it lower. I think you're right to do mid-range if it was but I think because
upper mid-range though, I think
I think because it means so much to me personally, and I can't remove myself from that, but I'm very aware of its faults and everything, so I will give it a 4 out of 5.
It's awesome. And we can say there are faults, but I do think a lot of it is by design, because I think that it's not a fault of lack of thought. I think it's and time behind the back of the production team.
That's it. I mean, you think I would rather than see a remake, I would rather, however they would be able to do it, them use a budget of today, and whether it's they do the de-aging tech or what, I don't care how they do it, just get those players back in and extend. Enhance on what, like you said, the Eternia stuff. I'd like to see a bit more of that. I'm not bothered that we didn't get to see Prince Adam and that side of
I don't think it would have worked as well, to be honest. Prince Adam.
Can you imagine Dolph being in that little purple tank top? Sort of with white long sleeves and his furry pants.
I think some of the stuff is actually improved. The actual kind of property for Mattel, which I never got why they didn't really release figures to look like Dolph Lundgren, to be honest, especially as the cartoon was like slowing down. It was repeated by then, but I suppose it's life's little mysteries.
That's it.
But I would recommend anyone to watch it, and I think if you fall into the category you don't quite enjoy it, there is something for you to enjoy, and it is, it was a massive. Regarding release, it was a huge release. It was a hugely anticipated film. Sticker books, everything. Weren't they? To say they couldn't really afford to promote the film, there was sticker books, there was comic books, there was everything. And if you love the film, well, you'd find yourself a nice little it's a great little family friendly sci-fi film.
Yeah.
In a way, fantasy. I just like seeing more of Eternia that wasn't like a little kind of Tatooine kind of looking place. And again, budget stuff, so I totally understand.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Well, that's it for Masters Universe and for us this week. Thanks for joining me, mate.
Thank you.
And everyone else, like we said before, just give us if you like it, give us a like. If you agree with us, let us know. If you don't, let us know, and we can have a big fight about it in the comments section. But from us for now, that's good night. Take care, mate.
Yes, you too. Thank you, and good night.